I am interested because a lot of what you're saying, like most human beings, has some nuance on both political sides. If you had to classify yourself in a particular political group, libertarian, progressive, Republican, Democrat, whatnot, where would you classify yourself as you stand today? And that, you could, I don't know if there's an actual title for what you would believe, or if there's a group of beliefs that you could kind of, carterize around. Like, what would you consider yourself politically? Because I feel like when it comes to voting Republican or Democrat, you're probably, like me, feel pretty politically homeless.
So I just want to point this out because that was a fluid segue, and everyone, if you're keeping track at home, give them a point on the scoreboard. So you are a libertarian, which is, I'm assigning you that label now. No,
Perfect.
what is
and I would say libertarian, small L in my beliefs, but not really a libertarian, capital L as in the party, because like the party has some very disjointed thoughts, just like a lot of people I think are liberals, small L, not liberals, capital L. So I would consider myself a small L libertarian, which tends to mean when there's a binary choice between a conservative and a progressive, I'm usually going to vote the conservative, or I'm going to waste my vote maybe on the capital L Libertarian Party. But yes, I would definitely put myself squarely in the libertarian camp, like mostly personal freedoms, smaller government. I'm what you would call a night watchman libertarian if we were getting really political, where it's like, I do think that there's some place in the world for government, and I do think there is some place in the world for regulation, and it's usually around personal freedoms, some type of police force, some type of military, some type of guiding hand, maybe even the economy, but kind of like a small L libertarian that believes that there is a place for the government. So try putting that on your voter ID card.
But who night watches the night watchers? Right?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. That's why we have to maximize for personal freedom, because if not, the night watch just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
So when it comes to my political identity, we had this conversation on the bat, and this is what led to me being invited to the podcast. Classically, libertarians are identified as anarcho-capitalists, meaning, as you said, maximal personal liberties with a market system that allows the market system to operate because it knows what's best for itself. For instance, the oil industry should self-regulate. Tends to be a libertarian ideal. I myself classify myself classically as an anarcho-humanist. So I agree when it comes to personal liberties that your ability to swing your fist should end at the tip of my nose. Your personal liberties shouldn't affect my ability to perform my personal liberties. If I want to get an abortion, your personal religious liberties shouldn't stop me from being able to get an abortion. Not to make a stance on either side. I want to try to walk between the raindrops here. But the humanist portion, I believe that the government's sole purpose should be the protection of the population. And when it comes to the economy, I believe that the government should protect us from the free market in the sense that, hey, if Verizon just dumps 1 million pounds of lithium ion batteries into the Colorado River and they get fined and they just increase all of our Verizon bills to pay for that, they haven't been punished. We should have government out there to protect us from those things. Hey, you can't go and do these things without punishment. We can't have, let's say, if we send a colony to Mars, SpaceX shouldn't be able to be like, hey, there's a mineral resource on Mars. I'm not going to send you any sort of funds or any sort of resources until you sign over those properties to me, which is my biggest fear when it comes to privatization in the space race is ghosts of Mars scenario. But the government should have a go-between there. They shouldn't say, hey, all people in all states need to abide by this specific regulation because I don't like cookie cutter scenarios, but they should ensure that all Americans have access to healthcare, that all Americans have access to certain safety nets. People would classically refer to that as socialism when it comes to the safety nets. But I also believe that Americans should have their civil liberties. I believe in common sense gun reform, but I don't believe that guns should be taken away from people. I believe that you should have the right not to incriminate yourself. But I don't believe that if you're a rich man, you should have more liberties when it comes to legal rights. Because like the anarchy, when it comes to anarcho-capitalist, when it comes to anarcho-humanist, is towards the libertarian freedoms of like the Constitution, things like that. But it's also towards this idea that there shouldn't be class. If you make $10 million and I make $75,000, you should still be subject to the same laws that I am, which is how our political system operates. But if I can't afford a lawyer, I get the shittiest lawyer, or I get like a public defender who is handling 100 cases, whereas you get like a giant law firm that's got like 10 lawyers, and so they get you out on loopholes. And we see this all the time and things like that. That's what the classless society is towards. It's not towards, hey, there shouldn't be rich people, hey, there shouldn't be poor people. It's rich and poor people shouldn't be treated differently. If a poor person gets cancer, they should have all the same rights to life as a rich person who can afford all of the best like medical treatments. So I tend to call myself an anarcho-humanist because while I have libertarian ideals, while I have certain conservative ideals, I also have certain left-leaning ideals. And so those all lump together to where I think our priority should be to maximize the liberties and the lives of humans, not benefit private industry and government practice.
So I really like that explanation, by the way, and I appreciate you shedding light on that because I think that's really succinct.